totally out, or the big government is totally out of control. It spends too much, taxes too much, it regulates too much, and is borrowing too much. This must stop. In fact, both parties are guilty. Since I've been in Congress, I've introduced more targeted spending cuts than any other member of Congress. In fact, just in the last Congress, I introduced over $155 billion worth of targeted cuts. Now, let me give you some examples of the kind of cuts that I propose. Right now today, we're spending almost $70 billion a year on the U.S. Department of Education. The average salary of those fat cat bureaucrats, most have never taught a child to read, is over $105,000 a year. That's almost twice what the average teacher salary is here in Georgia. What I say is let's shut down the Department of Education totally. Let's keep those dollars here in Georgia. Let's pay our teachers more. Let's get rid of No Child Left Behind and now Common Core so that the teachers can teach. And while we're shutting down things, let's shut down the EPA also. Let's get its boot off the throat of business and job creators and our economy. We've got to be good stewards of our environment. There's no question about that. But both of those functions should be done in the states, not in Washington, D.C. And while we're talking about it, let's shut down the IRS also. I believe in the fair tax. In fact, I believe if 10% is good enough for the Lord, it ought to be good enough for things. But to get there, we're going to have to shrink the size and scope of the government. Members of both parties have expanded all the things that we see in the news today. Whether it's out of control spending, this unsustainable debt, whether it's all the scandals or the unconstitutional, lawless executive orders that this president and other presidents have put in place, all of those are symptoms. They're symptoms of a disease, and the disease is big government. And the greatest example of big government and the disease of a government that's out of control is Obamacare. We must get rid of Obamacare and tear it out by the roots. In fact, I've got the cure. It's the Patient Option Act. It's a 77-page free market solution to put you in charge of all your health care decisions. In fact, I can sum it up in 3 phrases. It's your doctor, your insurance, and your choices. And I'll tell you what it does. It'll give a mom who has been struggling to pay the bills for her family the opportunity to go to the open marketplace and buy insurance that fits her family best at a price that she can afford. When she has to take her child to the doctor, she can choose whatever doctor she wants to go to. And she and the doctor can make decisions about what kind of treatment that child needs and will get. And in fact, she'll have peace of mind as she takes care of our elderly parents, that our parents would have good quality health care also, and that she and her doctor and parents can make their decisions. My Patient Option Act is the only solution that keeps a federal government bureaucrat from making health care decisions for you, even in the Republican bill. We've got to stop this big government. Big government's the disease. What I want to do is take the money and power out of the hands of the bureaucrats and the politicians in Washington and send it back to the states and the people as our founding fathers did. There are 4 questions I ask about all legislation. The first, is it constitutional? I mean, is it constitutional according to the original intent? I carry a copy in my pocket. There are only 18 things in Article 1, Section 8 that we officially have authority to vote on in Washington, D.C., in Congress. We've got to go back to Constitution and then to go. The second question, is it right? Is it fit to Judeo-Christian biblical principles that our nation's founded on? The third, can we afford it? And fourth, do we need it? If all 4 are yes, I vote yes. Otherwise, I vote no. And I say no to big government. We've got to stop this out of control big government. That's what I've been fighting for you ever since I was elected to Congress, and that's what I'll continue to fight for as your U.S. Senator.
Phil Gately, your opportunity.
Dick, thank you, Kyle. Thank you. And it's great to be here today with NFIB Small Business Day at the Capitol. I want to tell you a little bit about who I am, what I believe in, and why I want to serve as your next United States Senator. I am a lifelong Georgian. I was born in Augusta. I went to Georgia Tech, and I returned to Augusta, to the Medical College of Georgia, now Georgia Health Sciences University, to get my medical degree, and then came back to Atlanta to intern at Grady Memorial Hospital. It was there that I had an opportunity to meet a very bright, beautiful Delta flight attendant, also a lifelong Georgian from Newton. So East met West, and a year later, after that internship year, Bill and I were married. We've been married 43 years. We have 4 children and 13 grandchildren. Now, when I finished my medical practice, my medical training, actually I did a couple of years of family practice in a small town in the Augusta area, and then went back and specialized in obstetrics and gynecology. But we picked Marietta in Cobb County 38 years ago. We raised our children there. I delivered something like 5,200 babies over a 26-year period. Now, like many of you, I've always felt like I wanted to give something back. I wanted to be involved in public service. So I started out very precariously by running for the school board in Marietta, and I served on the school board for 4 years, and after that, 4 years of Georgia Senate. In 2002, I was elected to the Congress, and I'm now in my 12th year, serving the 11th congressional district. But I want to tell you a little bit about a medical practice. And a lot of people don't think about this, but a medical practice really is a small business. And I've never practiced with a group and employees larger than 20, 25 people. It's a small business, just like the Dunwoody Pryor or Sundial Plumbing that Mitzi Smith owns in Marietta. And that experience that I had in meeting a payroll, and yes, buying health insurance for my employees, and as a small businessman, along with my partners in the practice, you know every one of your employees, and you care about them. You don't have to worry about stockholders and that bottom line. You really do care about your employees, just like all of you. I mean, you are a family. And you develop a compassion. Now, I have been, as I say, in the United States House for 11 and a half years. And I've learned a lot. I'm not a career politician. I'm a career physician. But what I do now, I take great compassion and I stand strong for your values, Georgia values, traditional values. And when I move to the Senate, I promise you, I will fight every single day that I'm there for those values. And I think that the background that I just gave you makes me uniquely qualified to do that. That background as a small businessman, yes, and as a physician who listens first, very carefully, before making decisions. And I think that's how you want that kind of maturity of judgment to represent you in the Congress. I stand strong, just as my colleagues, every one of them at this dais, at this podium. We all stand strong, of course, for the Constitution. I hope, stand strong for limited government, to understand really what federalism is all about, to bring that back, that power, that authority to the states. The government, the federal government, has gotten far too far. There's no question about that. I believe in traditional Georgia family values. I believe in the sanctity of life from the beginning to the very end. And I'll promise you, when I get to Washington, or when I get to the Senate, I will continue to fight for those values. I look forward to taking your questions. And God bless you. Thank you for doing this.
Congressman Gigley. Our next panelist, our next candidate needs no introduction, obviously, but she is familiar to all of us from the Fulton County days and from the campaign a few years ago. Karen Hamlin, former Secretary of State.
Thank you very much, Jake. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to be with NFIB, and I really greatly appreciate this opportunity. You know, I'm a business person first, and like you, I understand that results matter. They matter in your business world day to day, but they matter also in elected office. And let's look at the results that we've gotten. In the past 20 years, we have seen reckless spending from undisciplined individuals in Washington go from $4 trillion to $17 trillion in debt. We have seen ourselves become overtaxed and we're overregulated. Unfortunately, Washington has become a way of life for career politicians, and what we need most is new leadership, individuals who are going to bring the kind of leadership that I bring, focus on results, focus on problem solving, so that we can actually get the job done and start to make progress in this country. I bring a record, a proven record of results in some of the toughest of environments. In the business world, I served as an executive with KPMG and also with Cedar Vision Corporation. I was president and CEO of the North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, where I worked every day to help support small businesses across North Fulton. Just a few months into that job, I discovered that the finance director had unfortunately been embezzling money for 7 years before I got there, and the organization was literally on the brink of bankruptcy. It was one thing for the small businesses and other individuals who were in the leadership of the chamber to have confidence in me to run the organization in good times, but something quite different for them to remain confident in me to actually lead that chamber through and out of the very worst of times. We went to work, built a turnaround plan. I put my personal reputation on the line to get a line of credit to keep the doors open. And we did that. And at the same time, made sure that our membership grew and that we continued to support small businesses all across North Fulton. It took 2 years of really, really hard work, but we repaid every dime we had to borrow, and today, that chamber continues to thrive. As Fulton County Commission Chairman, when I came into a $100 million budget deficit. The Democrats had a budget on the table with a $3 million property tax increase. I had to make a decision. Was I going to just vote no against their plan and have a really bad result for Fulton County, which would have been a property tax increase? Or was I going to go to work and be smart and strategic in finding cuts and finding a way to move the ball forward with a diverse body? I chose the latter, and I was able to face that debt by being head-on with smart cuts, and we were able to have a budget without tax increases. We did that each and every year that I was chairman of that Fulton County Board of Commissioners. When you gave me the extraordinary privilege of being Secretary of State, I had the great honor of being able to work on a lot of areas that affected the small business area. If you remember when I came in, we faced a budget challenge at the state, and we had to take a 20% cut in the Secretary of State's office. Again, we went to work with the team that included Tommy right here. Thank you for your help. And we prioritized our spending in the Secretary of State's office. We prioritized the services that we were delivering. I understood that we had to make sure that we processed the special licenses efficiently so that people could get the license they needed to get to work. I understood that we had to make sure that corporate filings were done expeditiously and effectively so that corporations could get their doors open. And at the same time, was able to put together a plan, an implementation plan that was fair and appropriate to get us through the courts to implement photo ID. In Washington, we have punted the ball for too long. We know what we have to do, folks. We know we have to cut spending. We know we need to reform our tax code. It's been 30 years. We know we need to deal with the debt. That's why today I put out my 4-point plan to do just that, so that we can repeal and replace Obamacare with HR 2300, so that we have a real plan to move that deficit down, so that we actually get serious about cutting spending and injecting a process into the budget system so that we can spend more time not just on what we're spending, but let's look at the programs of why we're spending the money that we're spending. And lastly, deal with the onerous regulatory code. As I said, we have punted the ball for too long in Washington. It is time to get serious about real results. We need an individual who has the kind of guts and resolve that I have always shown to getting the job done. That's what I will bring to the job of United States Senator. Thank you again for the chance to be here today. I very much look forward to answering your questions and telling you more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Handel. I just want to introduce Jack Casey. Just remind you, I was thinking about this. We're talking about admission to the world's most exclusive club here. And these elections don't come. I'm listening to the candidates and thinking to myself, these Senate elections don't come along very often. I know it's mandated every 6 years, but it's odd to think of the enormity of what we're listening to today. With that in mind, I will introduce the candidate from south of the nap line, as they say. Can I introduce Jack Casey?
Dick, thank you very much, and to the host of the NFIB, my friends that I've worked with over the years, thank you very much for having me. Ladies and gentlemen, the American dream is in peril. A big spending, intrusive government is taking away our liberties and our freedoms. And I worry that your children and my children will not know the America that you and I know, and they will not have the opportunities that you and I have. And I believe the battleground to reverse this is in the United States Senate and sending Harry Reid back to Nevada. And that's why I'm running. I grew up not too far from here in Athens, Georgia. My dad was a World War II veteran who had been raised during the Depression. He was a gruff, strict guy. He loved us, but he wanted to make sure we knew the value of a dollar and the rewards of hard work. My mother, kind, gentle, truly in the top 1% of all moms in the United States of America. She took us to church, she taught us right from wrong, and taught us idealism, fight for the things that you believe in. And the values I got from that experience, frugality, hard work, idealism, are the very values that Libby and I, my wife of 34 years, the very values that we have tried to instill in our 4 children. As someone in the business community working with an insurance brokerage company called Palmer & Kay, I took that value of hard work. I worked on a commission basis and helped grow a business and became the vice president and on the board of directors. I worked with businesses all over Georgia. Actually, whoever would return my phone calls, those of you in sales, you know the feeling. But I learned what government overreach does to businesses, and I know businesses do well with less government interference. As a member of Congress, I've taken that same value of frugality with me. I've returned over $1 billion in office expenses to the taxpayers by keeping down my mailing costs, my rent, and my salaries. I come from agriculture country, but as chairman of the Ag Appropriations Committee, I cut spending $3.6 billion and had it signed into law by President Obama. You can get things done if you work hard. And now, and I always have been, pushing for an agenda I call the American Renewal Initiative. 6-point plan, strong national defense, balancing the budget, pushing back on job-killing regulations, energy independence, work fair over welfare, and tax simplification. I strongly believe that that initiative will turn America around and put us back on the right track. I want to challenge the status quo. That's what I went to Washington to do. That's what I do every single day. That's what I will do as a member of the United States Senate. I've never forgotten who I was, where I came from. I go home every single weekend. I remember my Georgia values, your Georgia values, the values that we believe we should fight for. I drove the carpool. I took my kids to church in Savannah, Georgia. We shot at the Piggly Wiggly. Remembering all the time and staying close to those who sent me there. I'm very proud during this period of time to have worked so closely with the NFIB. I'm very happy that my lifetime voting record with you is 100%. Not 90%, not 80%. This would be doggone good grades, frankly, but 100%.